Okay, so I'm going on an assumption that's about noon. So I've decided today to approach a slightly different topic, which is the topic of braiding. Nothing fancy, nothing complicated, and I'm going to be doing a little more point of view. So I'm actually going to come behind the camera so that all you're going to see is what I'm doing here. So perhaps you can replicate the styles a little bit. I'm just going to show you real quick what I'm up to. Let me just tip you up a little bit so you can see the hair. Great. Okay, so I'm going to be going through a set of braids. Oh good, and it's backwards. I forgot that part. Well, here we go anyways. Fishtail, a standard 3-strand, an underhand 3-strand, a French braid, a Dutch braid, and a 5-strand braid. May sound challenging, but I think once we get there, you'll be able to handle it, and I don't think it'll be a problem. This will help boost your game a little bit in the braiding, and I hope that it helps. So here we go. Come around and hope that everybody can see what the heck is going on. I gotta pull my doll head back. Right there, that's my nose. That's cute. So, just gotta make sure that we can all see what's happening and hope and pray. So the first thing I'm going to teach is a fishtail braid, and that's relatively simple. Part the hair into 2 pieces, 2 strands. And what you're going to do is, using your first finger, come in underneath, pull it across the top, and grab it. Then we're going to use our other first finger to come in underneath, pull across the top, and grab. Now we still have 2 strands, and it will stay 2 strands. So we're going to come in underneath, pull across the top, and grab. Come in underneath, pull across the top, and grab. Doing it again, finger underneath, pull across the top, and grab. And we're going to continue to do this side to side. Let's see if I can move the doll head a little bit. So as to be able to complete the fishtail braid. So, why doll head? Ugh. My apologies. Trying to get her centered back up in the lineup here. Okay, I think we're good. So, sticking with the plan, finger in, pull across, finger in, pull across. Now, depending on how thick you want your braid will determine how big of a piece you center out for the piece that's coming across. This is going to be a little bit of a thicker one, but you can do anything from, we can do, if you want it to be really small and really fine detailed, you can take as small a piece as this or even finer. For the look of this one, I'm going a little bit thicker. So coming through, watching my hands, 2 strands, thumbs towards your face. Coming in, put our finger cross. So what I'm doing is twisting my hand over and then grabbing with my other hand. Back to 2 strands, finger in, twisting over. So we're twisting over, grabbing with my other hand, and back to 2 strands. So, or you can, instead of twist, reach across with your middle finger and grab. I'm going to just speed up a little bit here just to show how quickly this goes if you're feeling a little well practiced, where you can have that comfort of knowing that you can make this braid happen fairly easy. But by taking these smaller pieces from the sides, so from here and here, you can see, I hope, I'm going to just swing my face around and see what you're looking at. So you can see here that it makes a very flat, broad braid. Herringbone, fishtail, fishbone, whatever you want to call it. And then once it's done, you can either keep it as such, you can pull it apart a little bit, give it a little more flair. Doesn't take a lot of effort to do this. I'm going to go over it again just to make sure that we have this down. So parting the hair in relatively close to 2 equal sections. Thumbs up, finger goes in, come across, grab with the other hand. Finger goes in, pull across, grab with the other hand. And you can already see that it's making an X. So then we put our finger in again, pull it across, and grab. Finger in, pull it across, and grab. To me, this is one of the most simple braids anybody could attempt. It takes a minute to get your hands used to the motion of separating out the hair, but it's not terribly difficult to figure out if you keep your mind as it is 2 strands, and then just taking a small portion, crossing it over, and then from the other side, a small portion, crossing it over. And then as you go along, if you are ready to finish it off and you're not quite wanting to fishtail all the way down, the next step you can do, which will then be showing you how to go into a 3-strand braid, is by taking 2/3 of the right side, holding that, 2/3 of the left side, and we've made 3 strands that we can now use to make a regular 3-strand braid. But I'm going to come back to that because I want to give you a better tutorial on making a 3-strand braid. So that was the first, sorry, I'm all in the way, which was the simple fishbone braid. Nothing terribly complicated, and I think with just a little practice you can master it enough to not only be able to do it on somebody else, but even be able to do it on yourself. Guess I won't comb anymore. Alright, so we're going to move on to the first of what might be considered a complicated braid if you've never really practiced or didn't get the hang of it, and it's going to just be your standard 3-strand. It might be called an overhand braid. So I'm going to take the hair, split it in as close to 3 equal parts as possible. So 1, 2, 3. Then you're going to take your right hand and take that strand, holding the middle section back. You're going to cross that hair over the middle and grab a hold of it. Taking that previous middle section in your right hand, you are now going to take and hold what's now the middle strand out of the way and we're going to cross from the left to the middle. Now we have 3 strands. We're going to take from the right, cross it over into the middle. Then take from the left, cross it over and into the middle. This whole braid is just a series of crossing hair from one side to the next and stopping in the middle. So over from the right to the middle, over from the left to the middle, right to the middle, left to the middle. And then I'm going to show you how I do it in a more rapid manner by 1, 2, 3, using my middle finger as almost, instead of coming over, and we'll do this again, instead of coming over the middle, using my right to pull my middle finger to pull the middle out. And I'll show you that in just a moment. I'm going to just come back here, 3 strands, over the middle, over to the middle, over to the middle, over to the middle, over, 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 over. And that is the simple way of creating a 3-strand braid, which is what most people would think of when you say braids. Now I'm going to show you what I mean when I say using my middle finger as a pull. So instead of going over and holding, I'm going to go over, but using my middle finger, I'm going to grab the middle strand and pull and twist. Then using my other middle finger, as I'm coming over, grabbing what's now the middle strand, pull and twist. Middle finger, pull and twist. Middle finger, pull and twist. So this helps pick speed up as you move along. That's how I tend to be able to braid quickly. I'm going to show you one more time just to make sure. I want you to feel comfortable doing this, what might be considered the simplest of braid techniques, next door to the fishtail. So, still going over. Everything is going to be over the middle all the time. Over the middle. And because it is an odd number of strands, that encourages you to be able to keep the pattern going side to side. So we go over and over, over and over, over and over. And now I'm going to just switch over to my method of using the middle finger to pull the middle strand toward my hands and twisting around rather than holding it and trying to plait over. And that is the overhand standard 3-strand braid. How are we doing so far? I hope you can see. We'll keep going. Now we're going to do an underhand braid. And the underhand braid follows the same principle of 3 strands, but instead of going over the middle, you're going to go behind and under the middle. Then we'll go from the left, behind and under the middle. From the right, behind and under the middle. Left, behind and under. Right, behind and under. Left, behind and under. Right, behind and under. Left and with an under braid, instead of using my middle fingers, I do more of a twisting motion using my first fingers to grab the side hair. So I'll show you that. But similar idea to the overhand, which was over. This is just now under. So I'm going to show you how I pick up speed doing an underhand braid. So we go under, and then what I do, twist backwards, swing my finger over and grab, and swing my finger over and grab. So it comes up, over, behind, up, over, behind, up, over, behind, up, over the side, behind to grab. So it's coming behind to grab the hair as I'm twisting it to the back of the braid. So same basic idea as an overhand, but this is an underhand reverse braid. Both of these, the overhand braid and the underhand braid, create the basis for what will be the French braid and the Dutch braid. So we're going to do this one more time, and we're going to go behind or under, thus the underhand. It's going under the braid. And then now this is the center where my thumb is. This is going to be the centerpiece. We're going to move it out of the way and bring the left side to become the center. Then right as the center, coming behind. Left comes behind, becomes the center. Right comes behind, becomes the center. Left to center. Right to center. So everything is just alternating back and forth from left to right, right to left, and in this case it is a simple braid that is considered the underhand braid. Some people find it easier to do the underhand style of braiding on their own hair versus the overhand style, but it's very versatile, and that will become the basis for a Dutch braid. So now we're getting into the fun stuff. We're going to come in here and we are going to actually do a French braid. This one, I get people saying a lot, I don't know how to French braid, and I'd like to help you understand how to do it. So the first part is coming to the top of your section, bring my hand in here, and taking an amount of hair, any amount from the top of your hair. So this isn't all of my hair, and we're going to start it just like any overhand braid. 3 sections. We're going to come over, and we're going to come over. Now, here's where we get to the French braid part. I'm going to use my thumb to secure that. Bring my right section over, hold it with my middle finger. From there, I'm going to take hair that hasn't been added to the braid in a small section from the head, pull it across, and add it to that strand. From there, we're going to come through, taking the left hand side, bring it across, using my middle finger again to hold the hair, taking a small section from the remaining hair, and it doesn't want to part because that's how it do. Take that section, cross it over, hold it with your middle finger, and now it has become part of the braid. So we're going to do that again. Taking the right hand side, just like any braid, add a small section of hair, add it to the piece that you just brought over the top. And back to our 3 strands. Now we're going to take the left side, bring it over, take a small section of hair, and I usually use my first finger to part out the hair, cross it, and hold it. Now we're back. Take the right, cross and hold, add a small section right to it. Then we can come in here, do the left, hold it, add a small subsection, and keep it going. Now I come right, holding it, adding in a small subsection, then doing the same to the left, adding in a small subsection, then bring it back to the right, and this is going to be my final add-in. From here, you go into creating a standard regular overhand braid. And as I mentioned before, the reason it's called overhand is because your hand comes over the braid each time. So I'm going to show you again, because I feel that learning to French braid is not the easiest thing in the world, but it's certainly something I think that everybody can do. So we're going to take a small section at the top of the hair parting, and this can be any amount that you want. You can start wherever it feels comfortable, or I can just hit my camera. Hold on, stop wiggling, you're making everybody sick. Okay, 3 strands. And because we are overhand braiding to create a French braid, we're going to go over and over. First 2, over and over. Now, once you've done the first 2 passes, you're going to take the right hand piece, cross it over, hold it using your finger to part out a subsection of hair, add that section to what is now the middle piece, the piece that came over. From there, we go cross from the left, over, and then grab another subsection and add it to the piece that came over, that became the middle. Now we still have 3 strands. So we come from the right, over, hold it, grab your subsection, add it to the piece that just came across. Still have 3 strands. So we're going to cross over, grab the subsection from the same side, and create another add-in to that, what is now the middle strand. From here, right comes over, and add in a small subsection into that middle piece. take from the left, come across, small subsection, and add it in. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to try to hold my hands in such a fashion that you can see what it is that I am doing as I go, and creating a French braid that can really help fancy up your braiding game. Make yourself look like you really know what's going on. People will ask, "Oh, did you braid that yourself?" And you can say, "Why, yes. Yes, I did." And then back to an original overhand braid. And there you have it. So what ends up happening is you bring in each of the subsections all the way through. It creates this lovely blended braid. Now we're going to move on to the Dutch braid. And the Dutch braid is a braid that is the same idea as the overhand French braid, but is now an underhand style. I used to call it a reverse French braid or an under braid. Anymore, people are just calling it a Dutch braid. So we're going to start the same way, which is to part a section from the top and split it in 3. But instead of going over like the French braid, we are going to go under. So I use part of my hand, come lift with my finger, tuck under, and lift and tuck. So we've done 2 passes. That's when you start adding. So in this case, when you come under, we're still going to hold it. I'm using my middle finger here to hold that piece and come in. This time I tend to use my pinky for the blending pieces on a Dutch braid because I'm coming underneath. So from here, twisting under, coming under, holding that out of the way for a second. I'll use my first finger here. Taking it and tucking it under. So cross under, scoot things out of the way, use my pinky to grab hair, add it to the piece that just went under. Then we're going to come under, holding hair out of the way. I'll show you with my pinky. And then add that to the piece that went under. Each addition will be added to what I'm going to call the active strand. So the one that is coming under is going to be what we're adding to. So we come here and twist. So now we're coming from the left and adding a small subsection. One thing about a Dutch braid is it can get tighter than a French braid for the sake of, as you come in and you've added this section, you're going to then pull and twist relatively tightly on the next section. So each time you're adding in, it's actually creating more pressure on the hair that you are adding in. So we come here and we twist, coming around behind, add a small subsection to the active strand, twist from the right. So I'm just turning my hand, twisting from the right, and adding hair, and then twisting from the left, adding the last bit of hair, and then continuing on in the underhand braid fashion, which is that everything goes behind. So this definitely gives you more of a standout braid, more of a piece that you can see. It looks a little more, it can look a little more edgy. If you want to get even more ornate, you just do these much smaller, and there is the basis for cornrows, tiny braids. If people are into the Viking styles, there's a lot of that kind of really tight braiding happening in those hairdressers' choices that are doing for the costuming for shows like Vikings. So we're going to do it again. 3 strands, approximately the same size. There's no such thing as perfection. So we have 3 strands. I'm going to just twist underneath. So now we have the active strand. Then we're going to come from the left, come underneath, active strand. So coming, see if I can move my hands so you can see. That one is underneath now. Let's bring that out of the way. Take a small subsection, add it to the piece that just came underneath. Now we're going to take from the left side here and turn it so that it is now the middle strand. And we're going to take a small subsection and add it to the piece that just went under. And from there, twisting in again so that this is now underneath, small subsection, added carefully, or not carefully, to that strand. Coming around again, from the left, small subsection, added to the piece. Then twisting around from the right, small subsection, and depending on where you rest your hands will determine where the braid will sit. So right now, I'm holding my hands in such a fashion that the braid will come straight down the side of her face. If I wanted it to be further back, then I would just hold my hands where I wanted it to be. I apologize for that. I whacked the darn thing again. So, taking that piece. Like I said, this one is a very relatively simple. Once you have the hang of doing the underhanded style of braiding where everything's going behind, I think it's really easy to catch on to being able to then add the hair in, much like with a French braid. Then we just are going behind, 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 behind. And that is a Dutch braid. So I hope that it doesn't seem too complicated. I hope that you could understand what I was getting at with how to add hair as you go. And then we're going to get into the extra complicated. Let me grab my comb because I need to comb this stuff out, because we are going to go into a 5-strand braid. Now, don't panic. I know if you've made it this far, you can make it through a 5-strand braid. They are not nearly as complicated as one might have you think. I'm not going to go crazy and show you how to turn it into a French braid or a Dutch braid. That's another time. This is just kind of bonus material. Impress your friends. Amaze strangers. Alrighty, so let me see if I can get a decent point of view. Come on, come on, focus. Thank you. Best of luck to me. Alright, so we're going to, instead of splitting the hair into 3, we're going to split it into 5 strands of roughly equal size. 5 strands may sound difficult, not as bad as you think. So, holding 2 strands in each hand, we're going to start by holding the middle strand. So this will be the third, the middle strand. You're going to take from the right, go over and under the middle strand, and that is as far as you have to go. Then we're going to take from the left side, and we're going to do the same thing, which is to go over and under the middle strand. And that is literally all there is to it. So I'm going to try to continue to show you. So now you have your far right strand. It will go over the neighbor, under the center. And that is as far as it has to go. Then from the left, outside strand goes over the neighbor, under the center. And that's as far as it has to go. So we're going to come over, if this will separate, over the neighbor, under the center. And I may want to move this up. I think I am going to do that. Not moving the doll head, just moving where I'm braiding from so we can actually see what's going on. So I'm just going to pull out a section that maybe we can actually see what the heck I'm talking about, because I'm still working on lighting. I hope that you could see most of what I was trying to do. So I'm just going to take this top section then and divide it into 5 strands of roughly equal width, thickness, whatever. So I have 3 in my left hand, 2 in my right. So we're going to take the very outside strand. It's going to go over the first strand, its little neighbor, and then it's going to go under the center strand. Then from there, once it's made it to the center, then we're going to take from the left hand side. It's going to go over its neighbor and under the center. And now we're still 5 strands. So we take from the outside, our outside strand goes over its neighbor, under the center. Still 5, still holding 5. Now from the left, over the neighbor, under the center. And now, still 5. So from the right hand side, over the neighbor, under the center. And you'll notice each time, whichever side you're going to be working from will have 3 strands in it. So, over and under. And from the right, now it has the 3 strands. So, over the neighbor, under the center. And then from the left, outside strand, over the neighbor, under the center. And then over the neighbor, under the center. You don't have to put in much effort. You can do this, I've found, relatively quickly once you get the hang of the pattern. So I'm going to just show you my normal speed for braiding 5 strands, just to give you an idea of how relatively simple the process can be. I wish I had a part of this hair a little bit more even. I have one strand that's a little small, but that's okay. Doesn't take, but I mean, it's not, you can go faster or slower. Also, I'm grabbing hair from the head that's not really what I had in mind, but that's okay. We're here, we're making it happen, because once you get the pattern, it's fairly simple to figure it out. It's like basket weaving. When you do any kind of braiding or plaiting, it's always over, under, over, under, over, under. So over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. And that's how you get a solid braid. I'm going to show this one again and hope that you can feel confident enough to give it a try. Try it on yourself, try it on a friend, try it on your kids if you have them. Husbands, boyfriends, girlfriends. Ah, heck, try it on anybody. They'll probably sit still for it. Maybe. Maybe. Okay, one more time. 5 strands. So, parting the hair into 5 little sections. Probably need that much. Alright, once more. From the right, we're going to come over and then under the center. Then from the left, over and under the center. From the right, over and under the center. From the left, over, I gotta run away, hold on, over and then under the center. Then over and under the center. Noticing each time that your side that you are working on will have 3 strands. 1, 2, 3. Over, under, and over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. And then you get this fancy pattern, and it looks much more complicated than it may actually be. Over and under, over and under. And should you get tired of braiding in the 5-strand style and you're ready to just finish off, you can split the hair into 3 strands and finish as a standard overhand braid. Sometimes that's nice if you want to finish up and tuck the end so that nobody can see it. It makes a relatively simple way of styling that looks extra fancy. And hi, Laura. At least somebody's watching. It's okay. I'm sure that this will help people later on down the road. Please feel free to ask any questions. Send me a message, come talk to me, visit me at the shop. I will gladly help sort out any of your braiding situations. For now, I think that'll do it. I hope that I will see everybody again in 2 weeks. And if you have any suggestions for topics that I can work on, just let me know, and I will see you next time.